LaKanya Nelson, and you are watching Juggling Hats While Maintaining Balance Through Life's Journey, the podcast. Today, we are discussing Chapter 2, and our very special guest is a previous Harlem Globetrotter. I don't know if you can see him on screen yet. He is such a character. He's also now currently a motivational speaker. Let's welcome another one of Houston's own, Melvin Adams. Hello, Melvin.
Hey, Mr. Kanye, I'm so glad to be on the show. Your hair's looking tight, and
Thank you.
you
Thank
the
you. I
best.
tried.
You the best.
I tried. Well, thank you for joining us today. As I just said, we are discussing chapter 2. This is a heavy chapter. The title is Family Taboos and Breaking Generational Curses. And so throughout this chapter, we are discussing family dynamics, breaking patterns that may hinder personal development, and the power of creating positive legacies within a family. We also talk a little bit about dimming your light and denying yourself for your family. And so this chapter is a bit heavy, and I intentionally at the end didn't ask a lot of questions. I gave a lot of reflection time as well as like pause and do you need a moment to talk? Do you need a moment to just cry? And take whatever moment you need. And so um again, I thank you because this is not an easy chapter. And so we're going to go through a series of questions, and I'd love to hear what you have to share with us today.
No, I can't wait.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. So, our first question is, what does it mean to break generational curses within a family?
Well, I think breaking generational curses in a family is a very healing thing. I know for me, growing up as a kid, we sometimes often wonder why do we do the things we do? Like maybe you may be OCD, maybe you have control issues, maybe anger, and we just kind of go through life and we're just doing what we do. But I didn't understand at the time. My mother, and I have an amazing mom, but my mom, just no matter what I did was never good enough. If I got an 89, she'd cuss me out, should have got a 90. If I got a 90, I should have got a 91. And my dad was very abusive. I would see my dad be very abusive, physically abusive to my mom, and not only to my mom, but to my brother and to myself. And so that affected me growing up. And as I went on to be with the Globetrotters, it kind of came all in a circle. And I began to look at myself in the mirror, asking these questions. Why am I the way I am? And a lot of it was the generational curses. And it was, there's so many of us walk around with so much bitterness and unresentment, and it steals our joy and our purpose. But I didn't understand it. I'm just going through the motions. I'm a workaholic. I'm trying to be the best. Um, yeah, that Lakanya set me free to love freely, to know, to be okay with who I am, that I don't have to be something I'm not, or I don't have to be perfect like you. But yeah, it's breaking those curses is very important.
I want to stay there for a second because you just hit on something else. How can one begin the journey of healing from family trauma? And you've already touched on that just a bit.
Well, I think you have to own. I think now as a parent, I think I share this when I speak to kids. As a parent, we tend to not want to admit, where we fail. But we're all imperfect. And it's a little word called pride. We're very arrogant people by
Oh,
nature.
yeah.
And it's really hard for us to hear when our children say how they felt, how they were hurt, because then it starts digging into our own insecurities. But in
Hmm.
order to the Bible says, if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to forgive us. But it also says that if we confess our sins one to another, we might be healed. So it's like, why did he put that in there? And I think that confession, or like, hey, Lakanya, I'm sorry that I said those words, or I did this. It begins the journey of freedom.
What impact do family taboos have on personal growth? So it's
Um,
pretty much the opposite of what you just said. What impact does it have on it?
it's huge. I could tell you from my family. So my family's from Louisiana on my mom's side. So my mom's dad was an alcoholic and a gambler, and he was very abusive. My mom's mom worked three jobs so she wouldn't have to deal with the affairs. I have four aunts, well, three aunts and four uncles, and literally the men are just like their dad, and three out of the four women all married abusive men, just like their dad. My dad's dad had been married. I mean, he was a pimp for real. I mean, this brother was married multiple times, and so my uncle on my dad's side had been married three. He died with his third wife. My dad cheated. I have three brothers, two by my dad cheating, and two of those have both been married three times. So you see the cycle continues to go, but I chose at that time to break the cycle, to be a man that was faithful, a man that could love his wife, love his kids. And so I went to like a counselor, kind of things that we're talking about. And these are the things that kind of will get you on the journey to freedom and living out your true purpose and why you're here.
You know, something you said triggered a reel that I saw actually on Facebook, and it was a guy talking about how we're always lifting up married couples who've been together or married for 50 plus years, but we don't talk about the stories and the narratives that the women had to go through. Like they didn't have a choice. A lot of them were housewives. They didn't talk about, you know, the cheating or, you know, the additional families, the other, you know, children. They didn't talk about any of those things. They're just saying to us, like, we aren't our parents, we aren't our grandparents. Um, but then again, I'm just wondering, like, I don't why would I want to be that? And I'm not going to teach my children to take and bear things that they don't have to, because even though God said in his word, you know, uh, for for being married, you know, in sickness and in health, you know, till death do you part, for richer or for poor. He didn't say take abuse.
Yeah,
He didn't
yeah,
say do that.
yeah.
And so I don't want to teach my family, my children, my nieces and nephews, my cousins who are looking at us, that you have to sit and take that those sorts of things. That is not healthy, and that is not a family tradition that I want to hold on to, just to say that I've been married, or my grandmother or aunts and uncles have been married 50 plus years.
You know, so many people settle in relationships. I mean, I see it all the time, man. Like, you know, me and my oldest son Seth, we was talking about that. Like a guy could have a great woman and don't have no job. No matter how good the woman is, he feels like a failure. A woman could be a billionaire and not be in a relationship and feel like a failure. And so I see so many, even at a younger age, young boys that don't have a father figure to see how that all works, and so they just struggle through life like most boys, just thinking about sports, sex, food, sex, and sex. The porn industry is a hundred and an $87 billion industry, and
Yeah.
187 million is made between boys ages 9 to 13. So imagine a boy at 9 watching porn, then he meets that girl. He's already deluded. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if he
Yeah.
had a bad example from his father, he doesn't know about faithfulness, commitment. And then the women, like you said, the girls grow up maybe seeing the mom staying in an abusive relationship, and that's all they know. So when they meet a guy that's abusive and verbally and physically, they,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how to lead because that's all they know. And so when the good guy comes or the good girl comes, they push them away because it's not what they're used to. So how can we break those cycles so that marriage is hard anyway? I mean, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
how can we, like, even like you said, with the generation under us, how can we set a standard that their generation, we could see those stories in our great grandkids saying that, man, we've been together 30 years, but it started with our great grandmother Latanya, whose hair in the front was tight. We didn't really talk about the back, but she set the standard, or you know what I mean, like, or Sonya set the standard, or whatever. Like, yeah.
So you've kind of hit this too, but the next question is, how can sharing personal stories with family foster connection and healing? And you've already shared your stories, and you've also shared how you and Seth talk. So how can those personal stories help foster connection and healing?
Well, when you most, like again, like when I went to my mom, I was playing with the Globetrotters. I was sitting in the room and I was kind of like Michael Jackson, poor black boy grew up to be a rich white lady. I was looking in the mirror and
You're not bright. You're not bright.
I love Michael Jackson. Um,
Okay. I just okay.
I was looking in the mirror and you'd be asking these questions. You'd be like, "Well, why do we do the things we do?" And so I remember getting on the plane. I called my manager and she said, Melvin, you need to forgive your mom. And I could remember every negative word she said to me from the age of 5. And I remember getting on the plane, man, and going to my mom and just expressing. Again, I didn't do it in love, so it was all wrong. If it's not done in love, it's not going to accomplish what it goes out because we have so much anger inside. And so I went to my mom and I confessed, like you said, I was opening up, and it literally, Lakanya, was setting me free. Now my mom, she was mad. She didn't want to hear that because again, it goes into the insecurity of we want to all assume that we're perfect, and none of us are. I mean, I'm the least of that. And but it began a healing, my mom, and so I ended up going to my dad's grave, and I was there for 3 hours, and I didn't leave until I forgave him, not forgave. Just asking questions of why you beat my mama, why you never was around. I remember going to every girl I had sex with, and because it's deeper than just family. I mean, because
Yeah.
it goes. Think about the hurt that we get from family that then hurt people, and
Yep.
we go and hurt other people. And so I had to go back. I mean, through a whole list of girls. I went to a store that I robbed as a kid. I paid it back. I mean, and I'm telling you, it went from Lacanya. It went from me going on my phone looking for likes to getting nothing but loves. To walk to closed doors that was shut like a Jehovah's Witness. When you would knock, they wouldn't let you in. To now doors just opening. You know what I mean? With no oil, like a P Diddy party. I mean, the doors just opening. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to walk in your freedom and your destiny, forgiveness, and confessing all that stuff is the key to that.
Thank you for that. What steps additionally can families take? So you shared about personal stories, but what steps can families take to build positive legacies for future generations?
Well, it starts with humility. Like I always told you, I was so proud of. You had a book signing, and man, we were so excited. We was thinking about that. You had sent out the email, and I mean, weeks before, we was so excited to come and sharing, in your success. And we was walking around, I'm seeing all of these faces of people that, we knew when me and Sonya first got together, and me and Sonya, when we were sitting at the table, I was just looking around at people that, that we all grew up, and to see where they were, marital wise. I don't know, for me, that really, it inspired me and encouraged me, like, to keep letting my light shine, to keep being an example, even when, because there are times, I make Sonya mad. There are times when Sonya makes me mad. We're no different than any. We learn how to forgive, and we learn how to talk. And I think when you said that, I think when we're all together, sometimes we can all get together and just talk about surfacey stuff. I mean, stuff that, and then we still all leave jacked up and not healed. And so, what is that all about? Like, what? I mean, I don't understand. Like, why are we meeting? I used to, when we first got married, I used to go. We'd go to the house and stuff. And I was like, man, I want to. I said, Lord, lead me to somebody, because I can see some stuff, just like in my family. Like, my family ain't right. But I would see some stuff and I'd be like, man, I would just go, like, and I realized I couldn't talk to adults because they was can't teach an old dog new tricks. So I started going to the younger kids, and they started telling me it was like Dr. Phil was back, but this time he black. Oh! But anyway, they started confessing and sharing, and then the ones that, like you, what you're doing, this is beginning of the healing. This is setting your family free, leaving a legacy. And so, but it's hard because you have to be willing to look in the mirror and look at yourself and go, you know what, man? With those that time when I said this to LaKanya, that hurt her, but I was hurt, and just own that and just say, you know what, I was hurt. There's no excuse. But LaKanya, will you forgive me for those words, or maybe not being there, or being there physically, but not being there emotionally, for whatever it may be, for that uncle who touched. You know what I mean? That shouldn't have done that. And it's horrible. You know what I mean? We just have to get into place. But most people, I'm telling you, most people, they do not want to confess and own stuff. We just want to go to our grave like we was awesome. You know?
Right. Part of that cultural dynamic of what happens in this house stays in this house.
Yeah. Ooh.
And
Yeah.
so through years, you hear stories. Finally, when one has been exposed, you start hearing stories of many other generations being molested and or raped by someone in the family or a family friend. And yeah, it's a lot. And I'll share, specifically for this chapter, and I just got chills as I was writing. It was very authentic, and I never shared names. And this is not a tool, a devotional or a journal or planner to expose anyone. This is my story. But after I came to and I worked through it, I had to go in and change some things because again, even in that family dynamic, I didn't want anyone to feel like they were targeted, because this is not about them. This is about me freeing myself and sharing my story to help others and help them to see that no matter where you are in life, no matter your status, we all go through some of the same things in life, and it's how you get through it that matters. And so, um, yeah, that struck a chord when you said what you just said.
No, it's crazy, Kanye. I was an uncle. My mom's side is from Louisiana. Man, every time I go to Louisiana, me and this uncle, like, he was cool, man. He was a male version of you. He was cool. You know what I mean? He great personality, make you laugh, you know what I mean? Great guy. Man, when this dude died, I found out he had molested like all my girl cousins. And
Wow.
and it hit me, and I'm like, man, when I die, I mean, I sleep good at night. And I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want nobody. I don't want people saying, "Man, you know what? That guy was he said that stuff, but he lived that stuff behind closed doors. Like, he loved my mama, and my mama was a little thugalicious, but he loved my mama. He served my mama, and my boys will grow up and be a faithful man. So I can change. You can change the generational curse. You don't have to always stay where it is. It
Hmm.
only stays if we don't confess. If we don't talk about it,
Absolutely.
just think it's gonna go away. That's BS. You gotta confess it. Confess one another that you might be healed. That's the whole point of it. So we gotta do what you're doing. It's hard. We don't want to hear it, but it's healing.
I feel like you have already answered this question, but I am going to ask it again just in case you want to elaborate more on it. How does forgiveness play a role in breaking generational patterns?
It is the key. I speak to kids about 8 days a month. I just got back from Iowa, and I was doing, the assembly keynote, whatever they call it, and I share. I share very openly. I'm very open. I talk about everything, and I think that's what people want. They're tired of this cubic zirconia. They want a diamond. And I'm walking off, and I'm high fiving kids, and I'm telling them I know Latanya. I'm like, yeah, you saw juggling, yeah, you saw, you got the notebook. Anyway, so this kid comes out of nowhere, man, and hugged me, um, and just said, man, like, I've been very suicidal, and what you said really helped me. Well, why do I say that? I say because when you open up your hurts and your pains, there are people all across the world who the devil has made them think they're the only ones going through that. Like, you may be
Hmm.
in a winter in your life, but your summer is coming. This ain't ice age.
Right.
Like, quit getting discouraged. Your summer is coming. Like, winter don't last all the time, and the key is unforgiveness. That's the whole key. Like, that's what Still, I mean, I see it in all my work. Man, I see angry people, people that want to kill you on the road, um, people that like you see the all of this stuff you see from all of these famous pastors, who there are things that happened to them when they were kids and they never forgave and they repeated the cycle. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter your title, it doesn't matter what kind of money you make. Um, Confession is the key to freedom, and so you got to own it, and you got to talk about it, and you got to be vulnerable. That's the only way that you'll be set free.
And you got to forgive, as you
You got to
said.
forgive. You got to
Got to
forgive.
forgive. What are, Melvin, some practical ways to instill new, healthier habits within a family? Especially when you've not been taught them yourselves. And so you are learning through experience and by osmosis and perhaps what you see and maybe even through therapy. But what are some practical ways to instill new, uh, healthier habits within families?
Man, you know what I see, Latonya? We all need uh, somebody to keep us accountable. I think a lot of us don't have people. We have a lot of yes people around us. We don't really have people that love us enough to get in our face and speak truth.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really want the truth. We love lies. We love it. We run from it.
Thrive on it.
It's so crazy to me that most of us get around people that just will just believe everything we believe. Like that's why it's good to have CNN and Fox. But if you just watching CNN, then you got your own prejudgment. And if you just watching Fox, you know what I mean, you got to watch both so you can get an understanding of all of it because
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's the importance of the body. And I think um, I don't know, man. Like I saw one of our family. Like I went to a game and I was watching. I always watch the younger ones because I'm just like the older ones they don't get it. And I'm just seeing one of them. I mean, this dude, this weed was so strong, Kanye. Like uh, it was angels falling down from heaven. Like the weed was that strong. I mean, Snoop Dogg said that that's some strong weed. I mean, it was. And I'm sitting here looking at her, and I'm going, what would make her settle? I mean, this dude is a loser. This dude, I mean, what kind of guy does just smoke weed? I'm talking about at a game. I'm talking about like you don't have no fear and you comfortable with that. And I go hug the guy. You know me, I'm hugging him. His armpits was a little, a little tart. So I don't know how you could even be in a relationship without your sinuses being clean and cleared from that smell. Because if his arms smell like that, just, I ain't talking about the body, but I'm just talking about the body. And so look, how I left there and I was like, I mean, and nobody wasn't saying nothing. It was like, it. I mean, and I'm looking at that as we're older, we already know how that's gonna end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's like, but then you stop and then you go, what example did they see?
Mm-hmm.
And if you say something, you judging, you got an attitude, you tripping. But then 10 years from now, when that child is angry and mad and in jail, then
Mm-hmm.
what? Then
Mm-hmm.
what? Like we don't want the truth, so we just gonna let them. And I drove home that day, and I'm just like, I mean, I was thinking about his armpits because I wanted to stop and get some Mitchum or some Axe spray. That damn, okay, damn. I mean, you smell bad when you can make a black person look Chinese. Ooh, we love you. Why are you with it? I don't understand. I was like, man, you that thirsty to be in a relationship? But they hadn't seen good examples.
Yeah.
So, but then on her side, is she going to somebody and saying, hey, like, can you help me? Because every relationship I've been in has been crazy. So,
But wait a minute, because you said young, right?
yeah,
And what I have found in this generation is they don't know how to ask those kind of questions.
yeah. You're right. Yeah,
So how do we help them? Like, so because what I've heard so far is like honesty in perception. Because we are a people of perception. It don't matter what you actually have. What matters is how you carry yourself and how you look when you in public. So perception and then honesty. But if they don't even have the skill set to know how to ask the questions, somebody got to jump in. Somebody got to say something.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this generation. I mean, they'll be sitting next to each other, texting each other right next to each other, texting. Like they don't know how to talk, how to communicate, because, like you said, I think So I was working at Denny's at the end of my freshman year of college. Came home. I was working at Denny's, and there was a white couple that walked in, and they was holding hands. I mean, he was blowing her kisses. She caught him. They was feeding each other, switching straws. I had never seen that. I'd never seen my daddy and mama be romantic. So I was like, I was like, man, is that real? So I'm like, okay. So they came in every day for like 3 months. And I'm like, okay, that's his fate. But they did the same thing. So after 3 months, it was humility. Humility. I went to the guy and said, listen, uh, can you teach me how to be a man? Like, I don't know what that looks like. I never had a good example. So I'm going to this white guy's house every weekend. I did this for 5 years. And I found out something about whites that changed my whole life, that they pay their bills on time and they kiss their dogs in the lips. But anyway, but what I learned from the relationship, the very things that I saw in that relationship were things that I put into our family. Like we never ate together as a family. Like my mom 83, my dad 84, but when we had family time, Sonia made sure, and we would talk about each other's day. I mean, it was cool. Like, Father, how was your day? Were you a Negro, Daddy? Were you a Negro? Me wee wee, me britches, Cheerios. I love Cheerios. But it changed the whole dynamic, and we got to
Yeah,
talk, and so, like you said, I think you have to tell them, but then they also have to be receptive to want to hear
yeah,
it. And
yeah,
so it's the whole humility, and then it's knowing how to talk to people and seasoning your words with salt. Like you can't come with all that old anger and think somebody gonna want to listen. So you got to build a relationship. You got to spend time with them, because if you spend time with me and you whoop me, I'm gonna respect that. But if you don't spend time with me and you be whoop me, you're gonna push me away and I'm gonna rebel.
yeah,
So gotta
yeah,
spend time. So what I do is I love on them, I make them laugh, I build relationships, and I set the example because they've been watching for a long time. So when I
yeah.
go to the young people, like they always listen, because I mean, to them, I'm like Kevin Hart, so they just listen. But it's gonna come a time when one of these I want to talk, because that armpit smell is still in my nostrils. Still, I don't know where he got that weed from, because that right there.
You know what? I think what you said was key though, building that relationship, loving on them, spending time with them. Those are some very key and practical things. Being honest. I think even in that I heard showing up. So
Showed up.
because so many of us don't show up. So you showing up as well.
Hmm.
All right. We winding down. How does addressing generational trauma affect self-esteem and self-worth?
Man, you have to be broken before you can. You have to crawl before you walk. And I think true forgiveness and true healing starts when we can, again, like, humble ourselves and um, owning. You know what I mean? When I think the other day, me and Silas, I went to Silas to get his taxes done, and I hadn't been to my dad's grave in like a long time, man. I mean, it's been Silas. Seth was like probably 7, and Silas was 5, and so I was in Aches home. I was driving. So I went over there and I drove, man, and man, I got really emotional driving, and I found the tombstone, man. I went to it, and man, all of these memories start coming back, and I mean, I'm looking at that thing, and I'm like, sorry, I don't want to cry with you again, but damn, Oprah. Okay, so I'm sitting there just,
All right.
I'm talking to my dad, like, man, I had 2 boys too, if you're proud of me, just all of this stuff. And I get in the car and I'm trying to wipe my tears, but I want them to see me cry. I wanted my boys to see me be strong, see me be weak when I make a mistake, to own that. So the next day, Silas asked me, said, "Dad, what did you say to him?" And was he looking down at you? And I said, man, Silas, I'll be honest with you, man, I really don't know. I mean, my daddy never told me nothing about the Lord. Like, I mean, he dropped us off at church. When he did come, he slept. I don't know where he at. I don't know if he was looking up. I don't know. I mean, if I was, and I'm not judging, but, and we do that a lot in the black church.
Yeah.
Kids
Yeah.
could kill 12 people and sell crack. And we'll say he accepted Christ at an early age. No, he going to hell. Just call it for it. Everybody ain't going to heaven. Just stop lying. All that. He accepted Christ early. Nah, he going to hell. Tupac nephew, his name is Pistol Starter. Come on, man. Come on. You're telling you what it. Anyway,
And that's a soft spot when you start talking about Tupac. So we're gonna move on from there. However, I
I love
do
Tupac though.
I do think it's a wonderful thing to see you get emotional because through this journey, it's not a quick fix, and in fact, you're not fixed.
Yeah.
And when you get toward the latter chapters of this book, it say, "Oh, you thought you were finished, or you thought you were completely healed." You're not completely healed until you leave this world. And so what happens is you learn different skills, you learn different coping mechanisms to get through life, but it doesn't mean that something won't ever trigger that emotion. And for you, it was just even driving there and being at the tombstone, and it triggered a lot of memories. So you are a changed man, you are a new man, you do have new habits, and you are setting a great example. But that hurt that's buried within is still there. You are better now because you're able to talk about it and you're able to share with the world, but it's still there. You just now have a skill set to be able to make it through the day, make it through the week, and to be an example for others. Final question, and you somewhat answered this too. How can faith or spirituality help in breaking generational cycles?
Well, it can only be broken through Christ. Obviously, like that's really the key. You said something. I had just really hitting these things. So just recently, I was preaching at a friend of mine's church, and it was the fourth time they brought me back. Like the kids, they bring me back. So I came back and I'm preaching. There was a little girl. She read the Bible verse that I was reading, and it was Corinthians, and she said, "Love has no enema, and love is not boosted." So me as a comedian, I'm writing. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm finna use this. This is some good material, right? And so I get up and I kind of crack a joke on it, right? And so at the end, church was over. I stayed. I talked to the little girl and talked to the mama. Again, I didn't know anything. So they said, hey, can you teach our class? I'm teaching the class, and so I was telling her, I was like, what does ENVY spell? And she was like, so it turned into a 20-minute conversation on envy and jealousy. What's the difference, right? The pastor called me. He said, man, had a lady that was like, didn't like what you did about, like cracking on the little girl or whatever. But the mom was cool. Me and the mom talked. The little girl didn't. But when I heard that, LaKanya, I didn't say, man, screw you. Like, it hurt me. I was like, because I don't like
Yeah,
hurting people. So I was like,
yeah.
wow. So I posted a video about when people, and this is the church. He said, Melvin, when I was listening to you talk, he said you was right there, and then you went into jokes. Jokes was always my way and how I dealt with my situation. And he said, I hear a lot of church hurt in your speech, and man, I came face to face with it. I started, because it was a lot. I seen a lot of crookedness and people not living what they saying in the church.
Hmm.
And like you said, like you'll never be truly fixed because it'll be little things that trigger. And,
Hmm.
and when we get that trigger, we have to, number one, we take it to the Lord. We take it to
Hmm.
the Lord. Hey, Lord, like I'm angry or I'm jealous or I'm struggling with this. And then God will, like, through his word, he'll speak to us or he'll bring people in our life, you know, um, juggling. He'll bring people in your life and then, those people will be the ones that'll start pointing and it's going to hurt. But
Hmm.
the Bible says that If you cut a wise person, they won't bleed. It's just going to make them more wiser. So we have to, on the spiritual sense, again, have people in our life that are not just going to be yes. They're going to say things that's going to tick us off, make us mad. But making us mad is the acronym. It'll help us make a difference. It'll change our mindset and our course, and then we'll be able to walk in healing and freedom.
Thank you for that. And thank you again for being here. How might someone find you?
Hey, you saw that? Did that? Did, did,
You're powerful like that.
is that? Did you do that, James? Well, you amazing. Look at you, James, man. James, you something, man. Hold on, let me. Oh,
You
Toyota.
know what? I say, how might somebody find you?
Oh,
Focus.
okay, sorry. Through them hearts. No, you can go to motivationalmessages.net. You can call Peggy Murphy at 281-804 3349. But it's motivationalmessages.net, or can you hear me now? If you Google any of those, or Google my name, Melvin Adams, and I'd love to come to your school, your organization. LaKanya still ain't brought me none of our schools. None. I
Thank
wish
you
you.
again for
I,
coming on today's podcast.
I feel
That is it for today, you guys. Again, I am Dr. LaKanya Nelson. This is the Melvin Adams, Houston's own. Everyone have a wonderful day.